table per class mapping of inheritance mapping, table per class mapping, there is only going to be one table of every field. Suppose in a student we have CID and CNAME, and in current student we have role. So CID, CNAME, role, or maybe phone in old student, every column is going to be get created inside the single table. So today we will see the code for table per class mapping. So what will happen in here in the code? Let's see. Let's copy the code of table per class mapping and convert it into the table per class. Table per class. We have seen table per subclass. Now it's time to table per class. Let's close all this. And in table per class, what we have to do is, let's first understand more in our diagram. Suppose there is going to be CID, CNAME, from current student we have role, from current student we have batch ID, or you can say batch. For old student we have interview column. From weekday student we have, suppose, phone. From weekend student we have email. So what will happen in here, in the case of table per subclass mapping, we are taking help of foreign key to establish the relationship between the two tables. Like here, SID1 is in relationship with different table CID. For this SID, this is the CID for customer student, and for weekday student, this weekday ID is in relationship with SID. For this current student, 1 is in relationship with SID when it is in foreign key relationship. But in case of here, everything is going to be inside the one table, like CID and CNAME. CID and CNAME is from student. CID and CNAME is from student, and CS means current student. From current student we have role, and CS represent current student. We have batch. From old student we have interview, a student that passed out and got placed somewhere, something like that. And in weekday student we have phone, in weekend student we have email. So when everything is going to be in single table, not in the different tables, what will happen, how we can discriminate or understand, how we can discriminate or understand that which values is coming from which table. Suppose here we have provided value in email. We provided value in email. So how we can understand that this email is being inserted through a student, through weekend student, or through weekday student? Of course, it is weekend student. So email is going to be provided by the weekend student because it is in last. But suppose when we have roll number in middle, current student. So current student have roll number. When we are going to insert the value in current student, then how you can tell that this value is got inserted through the object of current student or weekend student or weekday student? Because everything is available in single table, everything is inside the single table. So there is no way that you can understand from where this value is coming. So current student roll number is inserted through the current student or inserted through the weekday student, weekend student. So for that we have concept called as discriminator. What we are going to do is we are going to create column. Suppose discriminator column, and whenever we are going to insert some values, then we are going to know that this value is coming from which class, because we will bind every class with this discriminator. So every class is going to have their own discriminator value. We will create the discriminator column inside the table, and we will give every class discriminator value. So we created the column discriminator, and suppose D C S for current student, discriminator current student, for student D S, for weekend student, weekday student W D, discriminator weekday student. What we will do, we will create a column and we will give every class its own discriminator value. So suppose weekend student provided the value for roll, which is available here. Because it is in inheritance, roll is going to come down here. When you are providing roll with the help of weekend student, then inside you provided the value in weekend student of roll, and in weekend student we have discriminator value for weekend student D W E S, and we have column right here discriminator. So with this value roll, this DWES weekday discriminator, D stand for discriminator, W stand for week, E stand for end student. So this week end student, W week end student, going to get inserted right here. I think you got the idea. We created the column discriminator and we assigned every class discriminator value. So whenever we are inserting, suppose we inserting roll number, that is inside the current student by the weekday student. So weekday student have DWDS value of discriminator. So when we are inserting roll number to weekday student, through weekday student. So WD stand for weekday. So WDS. This value will automatically got inserted inside this discriminator column. So this is how we are going to do discrimination, or you can say how we are going to get understand that the value is coming from where, because everything is going to be inside a single table. Every variables in its properties or column of this corresponding classes will be available in this single table. So we will create a discriminator column and provide every class the discriminator value, and whenever we are inserting some values through any classes, the corresponding discriminator value will by default automatically get inserted inside the discriminator column of that corresponding row. So this is for this, this is for this. You got the idea basically what is happening in table per class mapping. So let's see the code right now for table per class mapping, in which what will happen, only one table will get created for every class. So in here in student, at inheritance tag, not tag, at annotation strategy is going to inheritance type single table. Single table is going to for table per class, single table, because only single table is going to get generated for every class. And now we have to create discriminator column and discriminator value. We have to create discriminator column. So for that, in the next line, you have to write discriminator column. Column is going to be of name. This, suppose any name you can do. You can give this column any name, but I am giving here this discriminator. So column name is going to be discriminator, and the value. So we created the column. You can see we created the column right here. Now we have to provide every class discriminator value. You can say discriminator value. So a student also going to have the discriminator value. So for providing discriminator value, you are seeing this tag from javax.persistence, and value is going to be, suppose S stand for student. Okay, just copy this line by which we are providing discriminator value. Go in the current student is extending student, and what we are doing in here, table per subclass, that we are not creating table for every single class. We are only creating table for, we are creating only single table for every class. We are not creating table for every classes. So what we have to do, just remove this table and primary key column, because we are not creating table, and paste that discriminator value here. For current student, discriminator value is CS stand for current student. We are not creating table for every class, so just remove these codes. And for old student, let's give discriminator value OS. We are not creating table for every class, so let's delete this. And this line is for table per subclass, so also delete this. For weekday student, suppose WD stand for weekday student, and in weekend student, create these tags weekend student. So that's all you have to do. We converted inheritance type to the single table, and we created discriminator column inside this student table, and then also we provided discriminator value for the student class. Student class is also going to have discriminator value, and discriminator value for every single class we provided that. Now what I can do is, let's drop this table so we can see the output. Now again, let me run this code. What will happen in this time? I am providing values in the weekday student, and I am running this. I am saving this. So everything will got created. You can see here, table got created, student, and table for every class is not got created. Only single table is being created, and then insert into the student. Let's see right here. Sort tables. You can see here only one table is created. Select star from student because student is the only table right here. So what is happening here? Look, in discriminator column, the value is DWS. So where we have provided DWS? Here we have provided DWS. We are inserting data using weekday student, and in weekday student, the discriminator value is DWS. So here DWS got inserted. DWS came inside the discriminator value, so it shows us that these datas, all these datas have been inserted by the weekday student object. SID is here, email, SNAME, phone, batch, time, company, interview is not there, weekend student and weekend batch time is not here. Why these are not here? Because those things are not in the hierarchy of weekday student. You can see here, suppose current student, suppose old student have company and interview. Old student have company and interview. Old student have company and interview, and we saved our program using how we created table by using the weekday student. So in old student we have interview and company. We have interview and company. So that's not in the its hierarchy. It weekday student extends current student extends to student. There is no old student in the hierarchy. So data got inserted in every column. Here you can see in current student what we have. In current student we have timing and batch. So timing and batch. Timing and batch. Timing in batch. What will happen if we Suppose if we are inserting data not with weekday student, we are inserting data with the current student, then how we are going to know that data is coming from the current student or weekday student? So that's what discriminator column is doing. We inserted the values of the variable which is batch and time inside the current student. Batch and time are inside the current student. Batch and time are inside the current student. But we populated those values from the weekday student. So batch and time are in the current student, but we populated that from the weekday student. So the corresponding discriminator value is right here. So by looking at this, you can understand that batch and time is not inserted through the current student. If it is inserted through the current student, then there must be the CS, which is discriminator value for current student. But batch and time is being inserted through the weekday students. So the weekday students discriminator value is showing here. Let's insert batch and time with the help of current student and see. Let's see what will happen. Let me do this. Suppose current student, zero. Current student batch is B1. Time is suppose 5 p.m. Okay. We have to provide values for the super class, which is a student, because we didn't have this. Or let's make the batch and time constructor right here. Okay, batch and time constructor is there. So we are inserting batch and time from the current student. So the value that is going to inside the discriminator column is CS, because we are inserting it through the current student. It is running, and here we can see student. No, it didn't come. Yes, now it come. In batch and time, in batch, here B1 comes and 5 p.m. comes in time. And these both values got inserted in the from the CS, which is discriminator value of current student. And other fields are null because we didn't provided those fields. So this is what current student is doing. It is populating this discriminator field. This is basically all of data present inside the table class mapping. Table per class mapping. Only one table will be created for every variables or properties, you can say. Right here you can see. Let me show you. SID, email, sname, phone. SID, email, sname, phone. Email and phone is coming from student. Batch and timing is coming from batch, and time is coming from current student. From old student, company and interview is company and interview column is coming from the old student. So likewise, for every variables or properties in every class, we'll create only single table. And for understanding which value is coming from which table, which column, which value is coming from which corresponding class, we use discriminator column and discriminator value. We create discriminator column and we assign every class discriminator value. We create discriminator column and in every class we assign discriminator value. So whenever we are inserting any value through any class, suppose weekend student, then the corresponding discriminator column will be populated with the discriminator value of that corresponding class. Like here, we inserted value through the current student, then the discriminator value is assigned right here, that this value is being inserted by the current student. When we inserted the value for these two with the help of weekday student, then the weekday student discriminator value is assigned that these values are coming from the weekday student class. So this is table per class mapping. Now third one, what is table per concrete class mapping? So basically we are going to go through this table per concrete class mapping in the next video, and we are also going to cover the codes for table per concrete class in the next video. So stay tuned.